Hi, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Brianna, and welcome back to Fresh Off the Broke.
Fresh Off the Broke is about personal experiences growing up Asian American in a predominantly white community, Asian media, and Asian pop culture in general. Race has always been a sensitive topic. Every day there are debates over race. With our podcast, we intend to shed light on the experiences of first-generation Asian immigrants, not put them on a pedestal.
We understand that race isn't everything, but there should be an acknowledgement of people of color, the knowledge gap, and the racial divide that will ideally be broken. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the episode. Today we'll be discussing Asian health and remedies.
Honestly, when you say that, all I'm thinking of is like Tiger Balm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say it's very limited in terms of remedies.
Mm-hmm.
It all boils down to one or two things.
Tiger Balm and Tiger Balm.
Yeah.
Does your family subscribe to herbal medicine or like cultural remedies?
I mean, kind of. Not really though, because they've told me like stories from when they were younger and like what their medicine was and like witch doctor type stuff. Like there's like a person where they live that was, I think that's a thing, where there's like a specific doctor, not really a doctor, that's why they're considered a witch doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And they like give specific remedies that are not really real, but you know, I think one of them was if there's a crying baby or something, like the baby won't stop crying. They pour a little bit of like wax, like from a melted candle, into some water, and then depending on the shape of the wax, when it hardens, it's like there's a curse or something on the baby, and they need to do something. Yeah, it's very stuff like that. So no, they don't do that with me, but they do use things like that are stereotypical Filipino family type stuff. So like Katinko or Vicks. Yeah.
Is Vicks a pretty Filipino thing?
Yeah. It's like, I think it's a pretty well-known joke that anytime someone is sick or experiencing pain or anything, just slather Vicks all over them. Yeah.
Where was Vicks invented? Let me just check that.
I'm pretty sure it's like an American product.
You're right, but I want to know.
I don't know.
Oh, it was invented in 1890 in North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's just one of those things that because normally when you have like a cough or a cold, you put it on your chest and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. For us, it's like anything. If you have like a fever, put some Vicks on. If you have like muscle pain, put some Vicks on. If you can't smell with your nose, put it on your nose. That's something that I hated growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it was like, I hated the smell of it because it was so strong, and also when I put it on like my skin, it tingled a lot. So like, yeah, I hated it. But it's a thing.
I didn't know that Vicks was so commonly used by Filipino people.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
I guess it's like the Filipino Tiger Balm, would you say?
I think it's funny because Filipinos do use Tiger Balm also.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. Because Vicks is also more of a, I've moved to North America type Filipino thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only seen memes or videos about people using Tiger Balm for everything.
Ah.
But you know, to each their own, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're here for, learning about other cultures. Or I guess in our case, Chinese and Filipino culture.
Yeah.
For my family, I would say we're pretty big on herbal medicine and Chinese medicine, especially because my late grandfather, he was what would you call I mean, he was essentially like a doctor, but in Chinese medicine.
Ah.
And so when I was little, sometimes when I was sick, my mom would ask my grandfather, this is my grandfather on my father's side, about like certain remedies or what she should make for me to feel better.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is, I mean, obviously there's some partial bias in this, but I generally prefer using Chinese medicine or more herbal remedies as opposed to Western medicine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, by the way. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh God.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just don't like using like Western cough medicine or stuff like that because they say it's anti-drowsy or anti-drowsy, but it's not.
Ah, I see.
I prefer medicine that doesn't make me want to, I don't know, like pass out all the time.
Yeah.
And from my experience, at least, that type of like herbal medicine, I heal faster from it.
Mm.
Also, oh, sorry.
No, that's just interesting.
Mhm. And also, my family's really big on like herbal soup. We drink soup every night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And I don't know. If someone had to ask me what my favorite type of or like one of my favorite types of Chinese food or just a thing about Chinese traditions, I would say drinking herbal soup because it's not something that every Chinese family does. Like obviously not every cultural practice is done by every person in that culture,
Yeah.
but a lot of Chinese people I know, they don't do it as often. They usually do it maybe every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But my family, we do it basically every night. I think it's just because my parents, like my grandparents on both sides, they did that for them growing up, and so it's just a family thing.
Yeah.
But I've always enjoyed drinking herbal soup. And most of it isn't bitter or anything. A lot of it tastes really good.
Oh, that's cool.
Mhm. So that's a nice childhood tidbit for you, and one of very few. Yeah.
Dang, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you learn something about someone that's like a part of their lives,
Mhm.
and you just, I don't know. It's like I'm learning something new about you, but it feels weird because I've known you for so long and I didn't know that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because it's a very small and obscure fact.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I should have known that considering what we're doing.
No, you're good.
The more you know.
There's things I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you drink herbal soup? No, you already answered that question. But yeah, even herbal tea. We don't drink tea like every day or a similar time frame. But I'm a pretty big tea person too.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think that's really like herbal stuff isn't really herbal. Wow, sorry. It sounds like gerbil.
Gerbil.
Gerbil. It doesn't
My
really that's not
brain
really
blanked for a second. I was like, what's a gerbil?
Oh god. Yeah, that's not really a thing. From what I have heard, it's not really a thing in Filipino culture. I'm probably wrong to be honest, but like my family's from the city and they never really do stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Cuz it's not as heavy cuz like I know that that's like a pretty big part like considering like it's all well established and everything, but for us it's more like witch doctor type stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh god. You know
When
what?
you say witch doctor, I am only thinking of Madagascar. I'm so sorry. I'm only thinking of the giraffe.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot about that.
This is very telling of her age.
Yeah, it really is. I think I'm gonna tell the story. So,
Mm-hmm.
my dad, he's pretty anti-vaxxer, I think you could say. But okay, he's one of those guys who's like he's very into like science and stuff like that. So you wouldn't expect him to be so like I'm not putting that vaccine in my body type thing, but he is. And so then I was like, why are you like that? Like, what's wrong? What happened for you to be like that? And so he was telling me that he doesn't know what's in the vaccine, which is, typical anti-vaxxer stuff. And I was like, okay, but it's safe, like it's been proved, whatever, and all that. And he told me, this is so weird, but he told me that in the Philippines, something that they do there is that it's so weird. It's so weird.
I'm getting really scared.
You literally they take a pee sample, okay?
Okay.
And then they put it in a centrifuge to I guess purify it or separate certain bits of the pee, and they inject that into you. And I don't know what for, and I searched it up and I have not found anything about it. But even my mom was like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing that happened," and I was like, "Why? What health benefits did you get? Was that when you got sick, or was that a daily not daily, but yearly checkup when they inject you with pee?"
Never heard of that.
Yeah, me neither. And I feel like they're just messing with me, but they're not.
I don't know. That's really interesting.
It's weird. I mean, no judgment, but it's weird when you say I peed and then they put it in a centrifuge and then injected me with that. And so he was telling me that because he was like, I know where that's been. And I'm like, yeah, because it's your pee, obviously. But if I had the choice of being given the COVID vaccine or pissing and then them putting it back into my body, I'd take the COVID vaccine. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, speaking of vaccine, something they do in China, which I almost had an experience with, this isn't as out there as what you just said, but instead of injecting vaccines from your shoulder, they do it from your bottom.
Oh.
Because I guess that part just has more meat, if you know what I mean.
Area.
Sorry?
More surface area.
Sure. I was more talking about because I don't know. At least from what I've heard, it's because that part has more flesh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And not in the surface area sense, just it's thicker.
Yeah.
And how I almost had that experience was when I was in China. I think I was at elementary school age, and I got a really bad fever.
Oh no.
And it wasn't sudden, but there was one point in the middle of the night, or just late in general, when it was really bad, and so they took me to the hospital. Why does this sound? It's not as bad as it sounds. But they took me to the hospital, and then I was supposed to get a shot, but then while we were at the hospital, I guess I miraculously got better. Not boom, I'm better. But while we were at the hospital, I ended up being fine. And another thing was my mom was contemplating whether or not I should get the needle, because I never had a needle injected on my bottom. And my mom was like, I don't know. I was also young. I guess she was worried about me crying or something.
Yeah.
And so that was my almost run with the Chinese vaccine experience.
Dang. Dang. Yeah, because I know, especially with babies, they do that, like, in their bottom, but also, like, their thighs, just because there's more, like, meat there, yeah. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird because growing up, I've never been afraid of needles. My parents told me this because when I was little and we had needles, I was like really apathetic, just sitting there. When I got my shots, I'd be like, oh, it's over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can't relate.
Were you afraid of needles growing up?
Well, it was more like I wasn't afraid when other people got their needles. Like when my mom got her needles, I would watch. But like when I got it, well, when I was younger, I would cry like a little bit just because I was scared. But then once I got older, I wouldn't cry, but I'd be like, I don't want to look at it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty common fear, right?
Yeah.
I feel like growing up, when we got shots, especially those shots that you get in school, not take. That sounds like alcohol. Shots that you get in school for certain things. I remember a lot of people being really afraid
Yeah.
and canceling the appointment
Oh,
and
really?
doing it through their family doctor.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
there were a few girls in my class that did that.
That's interesting. It's funny because at my school it was like if you were scared, everyone would make fun of you.
Oh, yeah, that still happened at my school.
Oh, that makes more sense.
But I guess there was a larger population of people that didn't want to do it.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know why I wasn't afraid of needles. It was just, I don't know. I was also one of those kids that wasn't afraid of eating bitter things.
Is that a
Which,
fear?
sorry?
Is that a common thing?
Not being afraid of eating bitter things?
Yeah.
No. Because, have you had bitter melon before?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's really uncommon, but growing up, I was one of the few kids that liked eating bitter melon or wasn't afraid of eating more bitter things. Which isn't a flex at all. It's just you eat
Like,
it or you don't, you know?
no, yeah. I think it's definitely not a common. Is it a vegetable or? It's a vegetable.
Because it's a
Not
melon. Hang
category.
on. Bitter melon. Let me check. I used to make a joke about this because in Chinese, specifically Cantonese and Mandarin, when you eating bitter is a direct translation of the phrase for like suffering or just going through hardship. And so I used to make a joke that I wasn't afraid of eating bitter stuff, therefore I wasn't afraid of going through a hard time.
Dang.
It's a cool, like eat bitter or sick fool. And so I'd be like, haha, I'm not afraid of eating bitter. Haha, I'm so funny. These are just little jokes I would make to myself in my head. Is bitter melon a fruit or a vegetable? Bitter melon, fruit, or vegetable? Oh wow, this is a common search.
At home we grow them every year in our garden.
That's cool. And like, we used to do that too. My neighbor has always grown bitter melon. Huh. There's conflicting. Yeah, some say it's a vegetable and some say it's a fruit. I guess you would call this the Asian tomato debate.
I'd say vegetable because I don't like the way that we eat it. It's not like a fruit.
Yeah, because if you think about how you eat fruit, this would not be a fruit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely in like savory foods.
Uh-huh.
Because who wants to eat a bitter melon in like
Oh God, raw.
like, yeah, no.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, that would not be good for you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you can't eat raw.
Something that seems to connect all of the Asian health products is the fact that they all have menthol in them, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like they're all like, I swear all of them are like 90% menthol.
It's funny you say that because I have one of those menthol inhalers in my room. Yeah, it's Thai. My aunt gave it to me when when she and my uncle and my cousin went to Thailand.
Total flex.
I mean, it's their flex, not mine. Funny story. My cousin actually started playing with this, and then her parents had to like keep it away from her because you shouldn't be inhaling these things for fun because then that just turns into something else.
Yes. So I don't know. Maybe I'm like wrong about this, but I feel like menthol is something that white people aren't really like accustomed to. Like it's not, because when I've heard people complaining, being like, "Oh, it smells so much like menthol," and I'm like, I kind of like the smell.
I didn't. Are white people less accustomed to it?
I don't know, because Vicks is a white people product, but they don't use it as much as we do. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I can't. I'm thinking, and I don't know if that was ever the case growing up. Because I knew people that used Vicks. I mean, Vicks is a pretty commonly used product anyway, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I know of white people not being accustomed to menthol.
Yeah.
But then again, just because I don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, like when I say that Filipino people use Vicks, I mean they use it everywhere. It's like, it's one of those things where it's just, I don't know, it's one of those in-jokes that all Filipinos have, and it's like, oh, Vicks, and they know, because it's just that we all use for everything. I remember one thing, this is actually little easy remedy. If you have like a cold, something that my parents did when I was younger was that they would boil some water and then put it into a bowl and put like a dollop of Vicks in that boiling water. And then they'd make me sit in front of it and then put my head over, maybe sit in front of it, put a blanket over my head in the bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, and I feel like that's essentially just getting an essential oil diffuser, like one of those Vicks diffusers. But if you just don't want to spend money on that, it's so much easier to just boil some water, throw some Vicks in there, use a towel or a blanket. And it helps a lot.
That's cool. That sounds like something that I've heard of in the past, but I've never done it. I've done steaming before, when you have like a bowl of hot water and then that's a pretty Asian thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, also another this is more a religious thing, if anything.
Ooh.
But another thing that was commonly done was so when you go to like churches, especially big churches,
okay,
sometimes they'll have obviously they'll have holy water that you can take and stuff, but some churches have holy oil, which is essentially just I don't know what type of oil, but oil that has been blessed by the priest. So when I was younger, that was something that my parents did a lot. When if I said that my stomach was hurting and they knew it wasn't a serious thing, then they just take some oil and then rub it on my stomach and then say a little prayer and then
Oh.
Yeah, but that was more for like religious stuff / like just calming a child down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was also something. And I think that's a common thing for Filipinos as well. If you are Catholic and practice.
Huh. I've never heard of that. But yet again, I don't know that much about Catholic religion.
Yeah.
Because
There's like a lot of like religious rooted like oils / like liquids.
mm-hmm.
Again, there's one liquid, I forget the name of it, but it's also green and it's also very mentholy. And it was essentially just Katinko but liquid form.
Uh-huh.
But I remember it being like there was like a religious thing on it. And it was again, it was just for like whenever you had a stomach ache, you put it on, and because it had menthol in it, it would just tingle a little bit, and that was it. There's a lot of that.
You're right about the reoccurring theme of menthol.
Yeah, it's just something, I don't know. But yeah.
Huh. I guess the little things you don't notice.
Yeah.
So kind of related to the religious thing you were just talking about, but maybe more on the spiritual health side, I want to talk about Yeet, which is a really big Chinese well, maybe not medicine, but Chinese health topic. And before I get into it, I want to know what you think Yeet is, because it's a pretty abstract concept.
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't really heard much about it.
Blank slate. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a somewhat educational tangent matched with personal knowledge. So, growing up, I've always heard my parents say, "Oh, don't eat that. Don't do this, because then you'll be Yeet." Which also Yeet is the Cantonese term for it. In Mandarin, they call it 上火, which I will explain the two meanings in a sec. But the things that would be classified as Yeet were usually unhealthy, greasy foods, such as, French fries, chips, things of the fried variety, Actions that could lead to you getting Yeet or being Yeet would be something similar to staying up really late and not getting enough sleep. And symptoms of Yeet were basically, acne. Because, when people stay up late, they eat a lot of greasy food, they're more likely to get acne or a sore throat, right?
Yeah.
And so Yeet is kind of considered, from what I see of it, it's kind of like the common cold. It's just it's something that comes and goes, but it's not something that could lead to a severe sickness. Well, actually, the common cold could lead to a severe sickness. Sorry. So Yeet would be a very much simplified version of that.
Sorry.
And so going back to what I was saying about the meaning, Yeet means hot, and then Hei means air, and Shang means, actually, I can't separate this because it sounds weird, because Shang means up and then Huo means fire, but Shang Huo means on fire. As you can see, they both relate to heat. And with yin and yang philosophy, very fancy sounding, Yeet is basically a way of looking at energy levels. Yin being cold and yang being hot, right? Mm. And so fried food would be of the yang category, if that sounds a little weird, but it would be of the yang category. And so if you ate too much hot food, you would be Yeet. And also if you ate too much cold food, that would also be a bad thing. I don't think there's a term as common as Yeet, but the main focus was to keep things balanced. You know, for example, with the sleeping, if you don't sleep enough, you're getting hay because you're not being healthy, and so you need to balance that. And ways to remedy Yeet hay would usually be drinking herbal tea, soup, or more simply put, having a good diet and having a good sleep schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very much a common annoyance. Because if you eat too much greasy food, you get acne, and it's a very harmless health issue,
Yeah.
And another thing, when I did some research about this, and I found out that in the West, experts linked Yeet hay to pH levels.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At least because they read up on the whole Yeet hay philosophy and the concept of Yeet hay, and they tied it to acidosis, which is when the body consumes too much acid or acidic food, drinks, etc.
Yeah.
There's a not a study, but I can link an article in the description about that if anyone wants to read more about it. But yeah, I guess this was their way of putting more science into it as opposed to spiritual belief.
Yeah.
Because in the West, they do tend to prefer more
science.
Maybe not mathematical things, but they prefer more stick to science methodology. How do you say that word?
I don't know.
Methodology. Okay, yeah, that's a word. Just wanted to check.
Interesting. I didn't know of that before.
Have you heard? I imagine you've heard of Yeet hay before, right?
I think I have. I just I didn't know that you could be I didn't know. I thought it was just a thing, a saying or something.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know it was actually essentially just common cold type thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time people, when they say Yeet hay, they don't really explain it, especially even growing up. It's more of I don't want to say common sense, but it's something that people are just expected to understand and know.
Yeah. Like for us, we've never really there's no word for it, but it is if you have too much of this, then you'll get this,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess saying common sense kind of does make sense,
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's no word for it for us.
Mm-hmm. And it's especially with Chinese medicine, there's a lot of terms that I don't know how to translate into English because, with Yeet hay, it sounds really weird when you translate it in English, hot air or being on fire.
Yeah.
I remember I explained this to a white girl in middle school once, and she thought I was talking about being in a cult. And I mean, no. But at the same time, she also wasn't really paying attention, which, if you're going to ask me a question, at least listen for the answer, please. But that is completely not important. Yeah, what was I going to say? With Yeet hay, when I see a lot of memes about Yeet hay, about how people, you know how when we're talking about Tiger Balm or Vicks, it's blank, something, there's something wrong with your throat, use Vicks, there's something, blah, blah, use Vicks. With Chinese people, it would be, oh, you have a sore throat, you're Yeet Hey, or acne, you're Yeet Hey, stuff like that.
I didn't know it could be that you are.
I
thought it was just a thing.
Yeah, it's because Yeet Hey is something that you could be, but also have.
This is very philosophical.
Yeah, it's very abstract.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to put it into scientific terms, but if you want to, you can. Westerners.
Well, I mean, it does, like, I guess you could put it into scientific terms, but also it really just is, like, it makes sense. Like, you don't really need to back it up,
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that they tied it to acidosis, though.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Since different cultures perceive things in different ways. That was a very generalized statement, but But yeah, growing up, if my friends or just someone I knew in general, it seemed like they were Yeet Hey, or they had some other thing that applies to Chinese medicine, I would tell them, but also they wouldn't get it, which is completely understandable because one, they're not Chinese, and two, they don't take part in Chinese medicine, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time in middle school, I don't know why I keep going back to middle school. There was another girl. She asked me if I wanted to eat a certain snack, and I said, no, thank you. And she took it really personally, but which understandable, because I know sometimes people, when they want to share things, it's something they like, and they want to share that with people they like,
Yeah.
And I didn't want to eat it because it wasn't Yeet Hey. There's another thing called, like, being sup, which is, if you translate sup, it means wet, but it's also it's just another, like, energy level thing, just about, like, eating too much of a certain food.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I didn't want to eat the snack. And then she thought that I had a deathly allergy, and it was a mess.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's hard to explain and hard to understand.
Yeah. But damn, I've been educated today.
We had a whole educational tangent.
We really did. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I try. Obviously, I'm not a licensed professional. I'm not a practitioner in China. I don't practice Chinese medicine like my grandfather did. So take what I say with a grain of salt and do your own research to the best of your abilities, because there are things that are really hard to translate.
Yeah.
Wanted to put that out there. I don't know how to end this.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We had a great time talking about all these cultural remedies, or just our weird medicine-related tangents. And we kind of broke down Yeet Hey.
You really
to the best of our ability.
Well, you did. I didn't. I just learned.
Okay, well, I had a Yeet Hey educational tangent, and Brianna was my student. Leave a comment down below about your experience with Tiger Balm, Vic, your trauma related to Tiger Balm or Vic, what you think Yeet Hey is. Do you know? Have you ever been called Yeet Hey? Were you confused? Do you understand now? If not, I get it. I honestly get it. It's really abstract. And if you're a, sponsorship person from Vicks or Tiger Balm or any other Asian company, I guess. Any other Asian company, hit fresh-off-the-broke88@gmail.com. We'll happily discuss
Your product.
Yes.
If you want to find out more about us, check out the card link in our Instagram bio. It contains links to our streaming platforms such as Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and more. Follow us for more behind-the-scenes content, announcements, and other random things we decide to put on there.
Like a sponsorship?
Yep. Just like a sponsorship. Please.
Okay, sorry guys. We'll leave now. It's our time to go.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.
Bye.